Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast.
Hello, Steve.
Guys, we have an amazing show for you today, like we always do.
Exactly.
Um, yeah. How's it going, Jack?
It's really good, man. It's a little cold here in Miami today, between 55 and 60 degrees. So I got a hoodie on.
Damn, that is
Yeah.
cold. Fuck. The snowbirds must be pissed.
Yeah, they're like, why did we fly all the way down here? They're like, what's going on?
Let's move back to New York. Fuck.
Yeah, but it seems like this is a familiar background, Steve, I see for this episode.
Yeah. I have some good news and some bad news for you, Jack. What do you want me
Okay.
to start with?
I'll take the bad news first. I always like to end on a positive note, so
Okay.
yeah.
All right, so the not so good news is it is Tuesday, and I have been trying to leave Kansas City since Saturday. But the great blizzard of 2025 has prevented me from doing that. I think I mentioned on the last episode, we were originally supposed to fly out this past Sunday, but then
hmm
American Airlines was like, yo, there's a blizzard coming. We'll let you guys change your flights for free. So we moved it up to Saturday at a time when the weather was saying, like, you're good, no precipitation yet at this time. You should be able to fly out. Turns out that forecast was wrong, and we couldn't even get to the airport. Like, the roads were all covered in ice.
Wow.
And then the airline canceled the flight anyway that was on Saturday. And they've just been canceling flight after flight every day since then. Like, we've been trying to fly out every day. So as of now, we're going to fly out tomorrow evening, and hopefully everything's chill by then.
That's an interesting strategy. Try to fly out before the storm.
Yeah, we tried to beat it. Apparently, we should have flown out Friday. But yeah, we're going to leave tomorrow, stop in Dallas for a night, hang out with Alita's brother, and then hopefully get to Cancun. The other nightmare with this is now there's a storm in Dallas. Like, there's going to be like a
It's
snow
just like following
ice
you.
storm. Yeah, so it's just following us wherever we go. So now we're not even sure if we're going to be able to get out of Dallas. But at least we have a place to stay with Alita's brother there. But yeah, this is my second week in a row of having a personal nomad nightmare. So 2025 is off to a rocky start with the Nomad Nightmares, but that's all right.
And I guess you're getting closer, right? Dallas is closer to Mexico than Kansas City, so you're making progress. I feel like that's still good.
Yeah, one step at a time. We'll get down there. But that's all right. So that was my bad news. It's not even that bad. Like, I've been chilling in Kansas City, eating good food. Like, my mom's been cooking for me. So it's totally fine. It could be worse. We heard about someone who got stuck in the Kansas City airport and just had to like live there for a while because she couldn't leave. Just like no
Wow.
Ubers were running or anything. So she had to like live in the Kansas City airport for 3 days, and that could have been us. So I'm glad that we at least had food and comfort here.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it is a nice, they did redo the airport. So, in terms of airports that you'd have to stay at, like, I feel like that one's still kind of cool, but I definitely wouldn't want that on anyone.
It is nice. It's clean. There's not years of like people's skin particles all over the place. So yeah, wouldn't be the worst. But oh yeah, so now I have my good news,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
or a good story, I should say.
Okay.
So after we talked about Dua Lipa on our last episode, my brother reached out to me and was
hmm
like, "Oh, did I ever tell you about when I went honky tonk dancing with Dua Lipa in Austin, Texas?"
What's honky
I
tonk
was,
dancing, Steve?
I don't, they have Sixth Street or whatever in Austin. They got all those country type of bars.
Okay.
So what had happened was my brother's living in Austin now. He just moved there with his girlfriend.
Wow.
He's going to UT Austin, getting a second degree there.
Cool.
Anyway, so my brother's girlfriend, like, she had some friends in town in Austin, and they wanted to go out to the honky tonks, out and do the country hoedown dancing on
Okay.
Sixth Street, right? So they're like, yeah, sure. So they go to like one of the more famous spots. I'm not sure what it was. And they're hanging out and they meet this guy named Jimmy. And this dude's just a character. He's got a handlebar mustache,
Cool.
cowboy hat, just like the whole thing, like straight out of a movie, right?
Like he's meant to be at the honky tonk. He actually knows what that is. I still don't know what that is, but like I'm just going with it. Like
Yeah. So this dude, it's almost like they placed him there just for the vibe to like make it look more authentic. Like
he's a
this
paid
dude just,
actor.
yeah, exactly. So they're hanging out with Jimmy all night. They're having some drinks with him, whatever, getting to know him. And all of a sudden someone says, hey, like, I think that's Dua Lipa over there across the bar. And they look and they're like, whoa, it turns out it is Dua Lipa. She's there with her friends. It turns out she headlined ACL, the music festival, that night. So she
Okay.
came to this honky tonk after headlining Austin City Limits.
Wow. Okay. Was she wearing
So she,
like? Did she look
I'll
like the
show.
guy?
No, she looked like Dua Lipa.
Okay, so she wasn't wearing like a cowboy hat or anything.
Nah, dude.
Okay.
She's Albanian from the UK. She doesn't own a cowboy hat.
Okay.
So my brother says, okay, someone needs to go interact with Dua Lipa. Like she's just been chilling. Like she hasn't been on the dance floor or anything like that. He's like, we got to get Dua Lipa on the dance floor. So he turns to Jimmy and he's like, Jimmy, that's Dua Lipa over there. And the guy's like, Dua who? He has no idea who she is. Like he's never even heard of Dua Lipa.
This is a pretty
Obviously,
good
like,
paid
why would he?
actor.
Yeah. So my brother's like, dude, you got to go dance with that girl over there. And sure enough, Jimmy goes for it. And he gets Dua Lipa on the dance floor. They're doing the do-si-do, all that shit. I got videos. My brother sent me that I will add to our social clips or whatever so
Okay.
people can see the videos of Jimmy and Dua Lipa.
Wow, that's so cool. So she was down for it. Like,
Apparently, I don't know how long it lasted, but my brother said Jimmy was the only person to dance with Dua Lipa that whole night.
do you think it's
Just Jimmy.
because people didn't recognize it was her? Because like, how many people like Jimmy or maybe are at the spot? Like they just never heard of this artist.
I don't. I guess it sounded like she wasn't super approachable. Like she was kind of off in a corner, maybe at a private table or something with her
Mm.
posse. So no one was really interacting with her. But Jimmy was like, oh, he just thought she was some random girl at the bar and just went for it. Like he's been around the block. He doesn't give a shit at this point. He had nothing to lose.
Interesting. Yeah. So, Steve, do you think you could pick out Dua Lipa like in a crowd?
Yeah, I think I could. Yeah, I know
Okay.
what she looks like. I know what an Albanian looks like at this point. Yeah, I think I could pick her out. Could you?
Maybe in a honky tonk situation, I feel like that would be easier. But like in a mall, or I don't know. Maybe I'd be like,
Yeah,
it
I don't
might be
know.
like that face looks familiar or something. Like I would probably have that tingly feeling, but I don't know if I would know it was Dua Lipa, to be honest. But
I'm
you
not
know,
sure either.
yeah. So I mean,
Maybe you've seen her before and you didn't even know.
yeah, you're right. And maybe I mean, your brother obviously very in tune with the culture, so he recognized her.
Yeah. Well, he's almost a Zoomer. He's like a young millennial, but he's bordering that kind of Zoomer millennial line.
He can relate to both parties.
Yeah. Yeah, he's good at that. So
That's awesome. We need people like that because I feel like sometimes I'm missing some of the Zoomer stuff, and maybe I need to talk to him.
same. Yeah, he can be a good bridge guy for us.
Damn, that's really badass. Did Jimmy ever say like, "Hey, she was really fun," or like, how did it end? Like,
I didn't hear that part of the story, but I will
okay,
show you the videos and you can determine everything for yourself.
okay, okay. Thank you.
All right. Let's move on to our location highlight for today. We have Istanbul, Turkey.
Ooh,
Turkey is one of my favorite countries, and I don't say that lightly, but I've said before, the number one question I get, about my lifestyle, people always ask, what's the favorite place that you've been, favorite countries, whatever. And it's hard for me to really say, but I do mention Turkey a lot. Like that one always sticks out in my mind, comes up as one of my favorite countries. I've been to a lot of different places there, but Istanbul is an awesome city. I know we've both been there, so I thought this could be a fun one for us to discuss.
That's cool, Steve. So Turkey, the country, is your favorite. I know you've been to a couple spots in Turkey, um,
Yes.
but you love the coast, right? But you also love Istanbul.
I do love the coast, and I love it so much that I feel like it needs its own separate location highlight that we'll do on a future date. So we'll just stick to the big city today, Istanbul. So some fun facts, real quick. It's the only city on two continents. So it's on both Europe and Asia, separated by the Bosphorus Strait, the river that kind of divides the two sides.
Now,
Um,
Steve,
yeah.
this fun fact does make me think a little bit of Kansas City. I mean, Kansas City spans two states. I believe we have a river. So just throwing that
True.
out there.
Yeah, but it's Kansas City separated by a road, state line road, as opposed to a river, which is interesting.
Okay. Well,
But yes, same idea. Although the city is much bigger, it's the 15th largest city in the world. It's the largest city in Europe, if you count that it's in Europe. So it's over 16 million people. So it's larger than London. I think is the third largest in Europe, and then the second largest is Moscow. So
wow.
just a huge freaking city. It has served as the capital of three major empires. So the Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire. That was when it was called. The city was called Constantinople, and
Ooh.
that was the capital of the Catholic Church. And then the Ottoman Empire as well, just to get that boring history stuff out of the way.
Got it. Well, it sounds like a lot of people have fought over this patch of land.
And it's quite the patch, I gotta say. What else do I have about it? Yeah, you got the sites. I think you had written this down too, Jack, about the mosques. Obviously, you have the Blue Mosque and the Hagia Sophia. And
Yeah.
there's mosques just all over the city. But I remember when I first saw pictures of those mosques, and I was like, all right, I got to go to this place. Like when I first saw that, I was like, that looks sick. I got to check those out.
Dude, I think mosques look so cool. I don't know if it's just because when I grew up, like I didn't see a lot of them, but I just think I think on the outside, they look cooler than churches. Don't smite me. You know what I'm saying?
No, dude, we're Muslim now, remember? So it's all good.
Right, right. We met on Muzmatch.
Yeah. And yeah, so it's also famously the city's built on seven hills. So I guess there's a mosque on top of every one of those seven hills. So like anywhere you're at in the city, you can pretty much see a mosque like just up in the skyline.
Now, Steve, did you have any issues like call to prayer waking you up or anything? Or
Yeah, just like with most of those Islam countries, the call to prayer. I think we had our windows open. We didn't have air conditioning at this place, so yeah, every morning hit that call to prayer hard. What about you?
like 5 a.m.?
5 a.m. baby.
Yeah, that's okay though. I mean, I don't remember the call to prayer in Istanbul being not pleasant to listen to. So,
Yeah, they didn't really take the Muslim thing super seriously there, I noticed. There was a Muslim neighborhood that we went to that, had more of the traditional garb and things like that people were wearing. But for the most part, it didn't seem like people were super into the whole call to prayer thing. Oh, we got to talk about the cats, of course.
yeah.
So there are just cats, stray cats running around everywhere. Now, I found several different reports of how many actually live in the city. So in 2019, the New York Times reported that there are over 125,000 stray cats in Istanbul. But then a newer report by some local article said that there's 250K. And then there was another like society in Istanbul called Forgotten Animals, and they reported over 700,000 cats in the city, which is wild.
Wow. Okay, so I mean
And
these are crazy reports. I mean, I'm sure no one has like been able to count them, but like I guess I need perspective though. Like in an American city, how many cats do you think there are? Or are we talking
yeah, I
like
know.
these are like stray unowned cats, or is this like including?
Yeah, I think it's the stray ones because I mean, everywhere you walk, they're just all over the place. And I know that people treat them like as community cats. Like people feed them, they build houses for the cats just around the neighborhood, even though they're stray. When we lived there, we had one that lived in our hallway. We named it Hallway. And our neighbor would like set a bed out there for him and set out food. And this cat just slept in our hallway every night. And now there's even a new law that they implemented a couple years ago that gives
Mhm.
cats the same rights as humans.
Wow.
So yeah, so before cats were classified as commodities, but now they are classified as living beings. So like if you commit an act of violence toward a cat, you'll get the same punishment as if you did that act of violence toward a
So
human.
if you kill a cat, that's like you're gonna get the death penalty. I don't know if they have the death penalty, but like, what?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so don't fuck with cats.
Damn, that's good to know. I mean, because people from other cultures might not know that, and they might inadvertently hit a cat or something. Like,
I would hope not, but yeah, I learned a lot. Like I was interested in the cats there, so I tried to learn a lot when I was there. I know that cats and the religion of Islam have a really close relationship. Like that is the preferred pet for Muslim people because cats are super clean, and being clean is a big part of Islam. Like you talked about with the hammam, the scrub that you got, Jack.
yeah, the scrub.
Um, and it's cats are mentioned a lot in the Quran, the holy book of Islam. There's actually a famous passage where Muhammad, the Muslim prophet, famously cut his sleeve off to not disturb a sleeping cat. So there was like a cat sleeping on his arm, and instead of waking up the cat and like moving it, he just cut off his sleeve and like slid his arm out from under the sleeping cat.
That's really nice of him. I'm sure we've all experienced this in some form or another. Where like we don't want to get off the couch because like the cat's on you and you don't want to disturb
Exactly.
because
Yeah.
you're so happy the cat chose you.
Exactly, dude. I know. It's like, okay, the cat finally loves me. Like, I don't want to fuck this up.
I'm not ruining it. Yeah,
Yeah.
like we're gonna keep this
uh,
going. Yeah.
what else you got about Istanbul, Jack?
Yeah, well, so I lived on like the Asian side, kind of across the river, I guess. And I checked out both sides and everything, but I would say I obviously was more on the Asian side most of the time, and I really liked it. I mean, it was maybe a little less clean, a little more chaotic than the European counterpart, but I kind of like that, and I felt like there was more mosques and more um, like open air markets. One place like style of restaurant I really enjoyed. I'm gonna butcher this, but it's called like the Turkish Hazir style, where it's sort of like a buffet, but you don't actually get the food yourself. You just kind of point it out, and they just give it to you. Did you ever like go to something like that, Steve?
Yeah, I did. And I just love the food there. I mean, they invented the doner kebab,
Oh,
which
let's
is,
go.
I mean, that's just huge. Who doesn't love a doner kebab? I gotta say, like, they probably weren't even my favorite. Like, I feel like the rest of the world has perfected the doner kebab, but like they invented them in Turkey.
And dude, I mean, 3 a.m. Jack loves a doner kebab. I mean, 10 out of 10 times I will buy that. Yeah,
Yeah, dude, they taste better late at night for sure.
100%. It's like the seasoning or something from sitting out all day. Like it's really good. Uh, but the restaurant right that I enjoyed is like it's like you go in and the food's ready to go, but it's not like a buffet where you go pick it out. It's like a table service and they bring it to you, and it's still a la carte, but it's all ready. And I love that. I felt like that was such good food. I got to try so much random food that I didn't even know existed, which is a great, that's a great position to be in.
Dude, yeah, I just love the food in Istanbul overall. They had a lot of those. What's that little dessert? Like those little squares,
Baklava.
baklava. Yeah, they were big on that.
Um, yeah, I know I like that too. I felt like the Turkish food was pretty heavily spiced and seasoned. Um, in a good way though, not like it wasn't spicy. I mean, I do enjoy spicy food, but it's not. It wasn't spicy. It was more spiced.
Yes, yeah, their meat always was super flavorful, which yeah, I definitely appreciated. Yeah, for me, I lived on the European side. So I lived in the neighborhood, as they call it. Beyoğlu was what it was called. So right by Taksim Square, kind of the big square in the center of the city.
Yeah.
Um, and that was interesting. Even though it's a Muslim country, like they still have all these gay dudes running around. So that was cool. Yeah, because I think they say 10% of people are gay, and if there's 16 million people, that's like 1 to 2 million gay people just in that city alone. So yeah, no, that was cool.
Yeah, that is awesome. I lived in a place. I kind of have a funny story actually. Now you bring this up. I lived in this place, and I'm gonna butcher this name obviously, but it's called Katakoy. Okay, and we lived on this place on the Asian side called Katakoy, and there actually happens to also be on the European side a place called Kadukoy, and it's like there's a slight pronunciation difference
Yeah.
here. Okay,
Yeah,
but the problem
I
is
remember this, and then maybe even a slight spelling difference, like maybe like one letter is different. But I remember that
barely.
really confused me too. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so I think one night it was like, late after the bars or something, and we just get the taxi because that was the thing right there. And we're like, oh, go to Katakoy. And we end up going to the European Katakoy, which is like 45 minutes away from the actual Katakoy I want to go to. And so we had to tell the guy, hey, we actually want to go to the Asian side. And he goes, oh, Katakoy. I'm like, to be honest, I think you said the same thing. Like it's one of those things. Like I don't know if my Western tongue does the sound you're looking for.
definitely not. Oh, what was it? Oh yeah, and like it is a late night city. Like some people think Muslims don't party and stuff, or they don't drink. Again, they don't take that super seriously there, so they definitely drink and go out there super. It was one of those cities, kind of like Vegas, where you'll be out, and then all of a sudden it's like 4 or 5 in the morning, and it didn't even feel like that much time went by. Like that happened to me in Istanbul, and like this place was still bumping. Like the city was still very much alive at like 4 in the morning when I got my kebab.
Yeah. Oh, got the kebab before I am, Steve. All right.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I love that too, man. I'm trying to have some liveliness. I need some excitement. Um, so I enjoyed that as
Yeah,
well. I did party a
yeah,
little bit, I must say.
that's cool. Yeah, did you hit up any hookah bars or shisha?
Yeah, yeah. Did some hookah bars. Went to some regular bars. They know how to have fun. So
Yeah, yeah, me too. Cool. So that's Istanbul. You got anything else about it?
no, but yeah, you should go. I feel like I always end up going through. I do have one thing. So Um, the last time I flew in, there was this guy sitting next to me, and the airport organized a tour for him over his layover, a tour of Istanbul. So you can get like airports or airlines, I think it was Turkish Airlines, to like give you like a tour. If you're going to be there for like 6 hours, they'll like pick you up at the airport, take you on a tour of Istanbul, and drop you back off for your flight. Uh,
Dude, that is a great idea.
yeah.
Because they have a huge airport there, and it is huge for layovers because again, it connects Asia with Europe. So yeah,
Yeah, so if you're ever there, and if you can do like more than 4 hours of a layover, they'll make that happen for
Okay, that's a really good idea. I think we were recently looking at having a long layover in Istanbul. So that's a really good idea. Yeah, that airport is insane too. Really nice airport. You can get direct flights to San Francisco, Denver, like even on the other side of the U.S. Like this place just flies everywhere. So yeah, hell of an airport.
Hmm. Now there's also two, so make sure you
Oh
go to the
yeah,
right one.
good call.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me. The people there are super nice. I gotta say that the Turkish people, which you can say about anywhere, but I do think Turkish people really go out of their way to help you out. Like we were trying to just get to the airport and we were having some trouble, and some people would just point us in the right direction because they knew we were lost, or like another guy just helped us out and was talking to us, told us what train to get on, things like that. Our Google Maps like weren't working. Otherwise, obviously, I would just use Google Maps. But when I was there, my Google Maps, it has like local mode and tourist mode. And like, I think I told you this when it happened, like, it didn't give us the quick, fastest directions to the airport by using like the trains and stuff. It gave us like what Google Maps thought was the easiest, but it wasn't fast. So this local guy was like, why is that not showing on your Google Maps? Like, here's what mine
Really?
looks like. And so I took a picture of his Google Maps and we just took those trains that were much faster. So
Wow, that's
there's a little tip.
I've never heard of that, Steve. Has that happened to you before in other spots?
No, that's the only time I can remember it happening. But yeah, it definitely did not give us the local recommendation.
Damn, Google, if you ever put me on tourist mode, man, like, don't do
Come
that to
on,
me.
Google. Yeah, don't you know we're travelers here? Come on.
Yeah. That's cool though. Yeah, I definitely love Istanbul. It's a fun place.
Me
I would go
too.
back.
Yeah, I think we might head there this year at some point. I don't know. Our plan for this year keeps changing, so I'll keep you updated on that. But yeah, I'd love to go back as well.
Great.
Okay, let's talk about our Nomad hack of the day. Jack, this is more your realm, I would say, but I can maybe offer some advice as well. And this is finding co-working spaces, using co-working spaces as digital nomads. You know, these are something that we often use. If you're in a new place, you need a place to work. So yeah, what do you have, Jack, as kind of a big co-working space guy?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely really like co-working spaces. I think one of the primary reasons is it just gets me out and about a little bit, you know. You got to get there, you're kind of out of the Airbnb. So I think that's really nice. Because, when you're traveling, it's like, at least for me, I'd love to spend as much time out of my Airbnb as possible. And sometimes it's difficult, but that is one way to do it. And I also have been pretty fortunate to like meet a lot of people at co-working places. Usually
Yeah.
there's, events that they have or happy hours, and you also just meet different people who are also like independently working. And I think that's great. Not even on a professional level for networking, but just being able to like meet people who also have to work because your schedules may align. Like they might also have like, oh, hey, we're both working till midnight because we're working US hours, but we can
Yeah.
like go out and do something together afterwards. So you might meet people that are, kind of have your same schedule, which I think is great. And then a lot of times the internet is significantly better at the co-work, but that's not always true. I mean, sometimes the city infrastructure just limits how well the co-work can be. But I mean, they definitely know very well that the biggest value prop is like having fast internet and a comfortable place to work. So that's usually top of mind for them, um, to kind of attract digital nomads to work there.
Yeah, I mean, Wi-Fi speed is probably my biggest reason for using co-working spaces. I always just try to work from my Airbnb and get an Airbnb with a good work setup. But if I can't, like one time in Playa del Carmen, my Airbnb had pretty bad internet, or at least in the bedroom. And Alita and I like to work from separate spaces usually. So since the internet was so bad, I went looking for a co-working space. So I normally will just look on Google Maps to find one and just type in co-working space and see what comes up. And then I used one in Playa that was actually in the back of a head shop. Is that are you is that the, are you familiar with that term, head shop? It's like, yes. Yeah, okay. I just didn't know if that was like a term that I heard when I was younger and it's like not a real thing, but yeah, it's usually where you buy like bongs and assorted water pipes, things like that.
Zins.
Yeah, and so it was funny. It was kind of like how on the last episode we talked about that speakeasy in the back of an ice cream
Oh
shop,
yeah.
but instead this was in the back of a bong shop. Like you walk in and they're selling all this weed stuff, vapes, shit like that.
You want to take one to
And then you
go,
go,
bro?
yeah. And then you go, dude, and like the wall just like opens up and you're in a co-working space. I actually couldn't find it at first. I kept walking around. Finally, I went into the head shop and I was like, do you guys know where this co-working space is? And they're like, oh yeah. And they just push this wall and there's all these desks and computers set up.
Wow, that is cool. I mean, I'm kind of down for that.
Yeah, it was a good vibe. I'll
Now,
say that.
Steve, now clarification for our audience is like my style of job, I'm a software engineer, so I typically don't have as many calls, and Steve's more in the sales realm, and so he has a lot more calls, obviously. He's making tons of sales. So for me, I can just go sit at a desk at the co-working place, and that's probably why I potentially go more
Yeah.
often.
Okay. I just realized that's probably why I don't use co-working spaces because I am always on calls.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of my reasoning for it. Although a lot of them have like call rooms or they'll have like little phone booths that you can go into when you need to take a call. So I'll utilize those when I can.
But then it's like, yeah, if you're in there the whole time, what's the point? You know?
Yeah, exactly. Or some of them will make you reserve those rooms, and if that's the case, I don't use the co-working space. But yeah, when I do need to, I'll usually message them ahead of time and see if they have like weekly or monthly rates. Like sometimes the daily rate, I feel like it's usually around $15 or something like that. So I'll ask them if I use it for a whole week or if I use the space for a whole month, if you have like a special rate. And
Yeah.
they usually do, and that's usually more affordable.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I feel like I've typically just done like always try to get a free first day. Like no way I'm paying the first day. I'm already working. I'm not paying you
Right.
the first day.
Yeah, that's common. I feel like they're like, oh yeah, you can test it out for one day. That's a good move.
Now, the one thing I love about the one thing that really puts it over the edge for me is that the reason why I don't like working at just vanilla cafes is because if I have to like leave my desk for any moment, I feel like I have to pack up all my stuff. But at a co-working place, I feel like I don't have to pack up all my stuff. If I need to like use the restroom or go get a drink or like talk to someone or take a call outside, I feel comfortable. I guess your stuff could still get stolen, but for some reason I feel more comfortable when you have to like pay to get in uh
Dude,
to leave my
yes.
stuff there.
Yes, 100%. You can see everyone in there like they're all people with jobs, like working just like you are. Yeah, I'd say they're less likely to steal your stuff. And I feel the same way. I feel comfortable going to the bathroom in a co-working space, whereas like I was working from Starbucks the other day, I mean a coffee shop, and yeah, I packed up everything in my backpack just to use the restroom. So
And then you got to unpack it all. But then,
yeah.
I walk out of the restroom with my backpack. I'm like, you know what? I'm out. Like, I'm not going back and setting up my stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I'm out. I already
I'm
got my
done. I'm
backpack
done.
on. Like,
I'm done with work for the day. That
yeah,
was
like I
good.
took care of business clearly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, okay. So, Steve, I wanted to give a special shout out to my favorite co working places that I've been to.
Let's hear it.
Okay. So, in no particular order,
Like
there was,
Mount Rushmore.
yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah. One of my most notable ones was the Paris WeWork. Okay. The Paris WeWork was incredible. It's like 4 stories, like open atrium, tons of light coming in, really huge spaces to walk around, take calls, a really nice kitchen area to get unlimited coffee and some snacks. It's WeWorks are nice. It's self-serve. Once you have the card, you can just tap the card and go in. You don't have to talk to anyone. I love the automation, so I'm gonna give Paris WeWork was super awesome for me. And then
Nice.
another one
Okay.
that I really, yeah, that was good. And then another one I really enjoyed was the Nicaraguan one. So we went to this Selena, and we've talked about this hostel a few times. It's more of a expensive hostel geared towards people who are working fairly, I don't know, like salaried jobs, I guess. And they usually come with co-working places. But we're in this Selena. We're like out in the jungle, I swear. It's like a 20-minute drive from the town. All you got is this Selena hostel, and then they built this like co-working barn thing out in the jungle. You're like surrounded by trees, but it's really nice. They had super strong internet. You can see the water from where you're at. There's like little hippie like wigwam teepees around you that people are staying in. Uh, and they had free coffee and stuff, so I felt like that one was, I don't know how productive I was in that one, but it was cool, like working from the jungle in Nicaragua, but like it be like super nice and set up very well.
Love that.
So those are kind of my two standout ones. I've been to a lot of them. Maybe honorable mention Morocco was a good one too, but uh
Nice. Yeah, I've worked from some Selenas. I've never stayed at a Selena, but I've used their co-working spaces before. They're usually pretty solid, pretty common in the nomad towns. I think I sent you a post that Selena is going out of business,
that's
and
crazy.
I think they got bought by someone else because I was looking into one recently, and it's under a different name now, but it's the same space, the same product. Like it has the hostel, it has the co-working space. It's just under a different name, so not Selena.
Yeah, I don't, obviously I haven't taken a look at their business or anything, but it is an interesting. I feel like their target audience is a little bit interesting, where it's like truly to stay at a Selena, it's basically it can be more expensive than getting an Airbnb.
Yeah,
Like to have
it
your own
is. That's why I don't
Airbnb,
usually stay at them. Yeah,
yeah,
because they're pretty
multiple.
expensive.
Exactly. Like you can have a way better Airbnb setup than like living in like one of the rooms in a Selena.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that was always kind of weird. Like maybe that like didn't really hit properly. I think a lot of people who stay in hostels are like 19 or 20 and they're looking for $10 a day or something. Now obviously there's people like us too, but I wonder sort of, what the distribution is, right? Are how many people like us that would pay for it versus everyone else who normally uses a hostel who wants to pay a fraction because that's the whole point kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like the branding, like they shouldn't have called it a hostel because when you think hostel, you think cheap, and these were not cheap. It was like a nice hotel price, but then the rooms weren't even that nice. So it's like, yeah, I'd rather pay for a nice hotel for the same price or an Airbnb. So I guess the benefit is the social aspect and hanging out with people if that's what you want to do because they had all those activities I feel like
Yeah.
usually set up, and obviously the co-working space is another benefit, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Maybe like if you're just by yourself, you're a solo traveler, I can see it being a great sort of investment for the friend aspect. I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I agree. Nice. Okay. What else? Co-working space guy. What else do you got for the people?
All right, well, I got an anti co-working space tidbit here.
Okay.
This is something I want to try. So if any listeners out there have tried this, I did a little bit of research, right? And I'm thinking, can Starlink solve the digital nomad internet problem? Okay? Where digital nomads are restricted by the city they live in, the internet infrastructure, the Airbnb they're in could be wet bad. Different parts of the city matter. So I'm wondering if Starlink, which costs $200 a month for this global subscription, which you can pause and unpause whenever you'd like, could that be good enough to have consistent internet no matter what you're doing, no matter, wherever you are in the world. Now, there is definitely coverage zones, but I'm sure that'll get better. And you can also use it in motion up to 100 miles an hour. So maybe that'll change the game for future nomads. How we were saying, Steve, we'd rather be in a dangerous city with good internet. Like maybe we don't have to make that decision anymore,
Yeah.
you know?
Why not both? Yeah.
Yeah, why not both? I want to have my cake and eat it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, have your Wi-Fi and eat it too.
Yeah, yeah, and not get killed. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, yeah, like I said, I have friends who do van life and they use Starlink in there, and it seems to work good enough. But yeah, it's only going to get better, like from a coverage standpoint. I mean, even just with our phone networks, like back when I had Sprint for a while there in the early 2000s, like if I was in a small town, like it wouldn't work at all, but now it works pretty well all over the place. So yeah, I could see the Starlink technology just getting better as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I don't know how big a Starlink thing is. Like, is it like a big thing or is it like a backpackable item? I'm not sure.
That I don't know. Yeah, because it's like, can you fly with it and like fly to a different city and then keep your Starlink in your backpack? I'm not sure.
Yeah, or do you have to like, get rid of half your clothes just to have your Starlink router? Like, I don't know.
Maybe that's another thing that the technology will, in the future get better is just make it smaller, which
Yeah.
I could see that happening too. Just like game consoles. I don't know. A lot phones used to be huge. Like a cell phone was giant back in the day, and now they're tiny. So I could see that happening too.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, but I guess my closing thoughts is I pretty much always seek out a co-working place if I go to a new city. For the social aspect, for the working aspect. Now, some cities I end up being like, well, all these co-working places, they suck. I'm not doing any work here. I'm gonna just work from my home, but at least I know that.
Yeah. No, I love that for you, and that's one thing that makes the way that we both do this lifestyle a little bit different because you're a co-working guy. I'm usually not, but I can be out of necessity if it comes to it. So
Well, that's good.
cool.
I appreciate the flexibility, Steve.
All right. Anything else on that, or should we move to our next Nomad hack?
Let's talk about your Nomad hack, Steve.
Okay. So a couple episodes ago, I was talking about the Schengen zone, and so I received some listener questions about the Schengen zone or the Schengen area of Europe.
Hmm.
People wanted to get a little bit more information just because we had touched on it before. So I want to
Mm.
dive into that today
Okay.
because as nomads, it is important to keep in mind. So the Schengen zone. So in 1985, the project was established as an intergovernmental project between 5 EU countries: France, Germany, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg. And
Okay.
so they all agreed.
This is
Yeah,
before the EU formation, like
no,
before the Euro.
The EU was already there,
Okay.
but the Schengen zone is different, and I'll kind of hopefully I'll get there. Let me know if I don't. But
Okay.
so since those 5 countries got into this agreement, it has gradually expanded to become the largest free travel area in the world. So it was set up to have no internal border or passport control. So similar to like US states, you can drive from Kansas to Oklahoma. You don't need to get your passport stamped. So this is different. The EU, just because you're in the EU, doesn't necessarily mean that you can travel freely, because not all EU countries are members of this. Actually, 25 of the 27 EU member states are a member of the Schengen Agreement. So you can travel without a passport. As long as you have like an Austrian passport, you can travel to Greece and not have to worry about bringing a passport. You just bring like maybe your driver's license or whatever.
Your wallet. Yeah.
And you can fly or you can drive, doesn't matter. So the countries in the Schengen Agreement, Jack, this is for you too, because I know that you were curious about
I need
this.
this. Yep.
Yeah, you need this. I'll do this rapid fire. Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, Croatia, Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Italy, Latvia, Liechtenstein, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Malta, the Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Spain, Sweden, and Switzerland.
Whew, Steve, that was good, man. I mean, talk about a tongue twister.
Yeah, I feel like a rapper.
That last little
Um,
bit, Slovakia, Slovenia, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland. Oh my God. Like, I can't believe I
that
just said
was
that properly.
that was tough. That was good, man.
Yeah, wow.
uh,
I'm not trying to, okay, yeah, I just patted myself on the back, but okay.
so like we said before, like if your family in Kansas has never heard of the country, then it's probably not part of the Schengen agreement. If they have heard of the country, it probably is a Schengen country. Now, actually, this just changed as of this year, January 1st. Romania and Bulgaria joined the Schengen agreement. Croatia joined in January of 2023. So those are the new ones.
Another one bites the dust, man.
Yeah. Um, and the next one that's going to be like on the list to join is Cyprus, who's also in the EU. So, what does this mean for nomads? So, if you want to go live in Europe, and I've done this, so I can speak to this from personal experience.
Love that.
A U.S. citizen or someone who doesn't live in the Schengen area can stay in the Schengen area visa free for up to 90 days within any 180-day period. Okay, with no visa. And then that 90-day period is counted backwards from your most entry or exit dates. So it's kind of like a rolling, that 180-day period is kind of like a rolling period. So once you're in there for 90 days, you got to leave for another 90 days before you can re-enter the Schengen zone.
Okay.
So,
So you have to,
and,
there's like this buffer. Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, and if you leave and come back, like, let's say you leave for a week and you come back in the Schengen, then like the clock will restart and it'll keep counting those 90 days in the 180-day period. And that isn't wiped out until you're gone for 90 days. So it's always counting. I don't know how they track it, I guess, when you do your passport or whatever, but
Yeah.
yeah, so my Nomad hack to kind of get around this, here's how I did it. I stayed in some non-Schengen countries that are nearby. So I went to, first of all, a big one that you can stay in is the UK. It's non-Schengen. It's also no longer part of the EU. The only EU countries that are non-Schengen are Cyprus and Ireland. So I stayed in Ireland for a while, so that's a really good option. Another one that I stayed in is Turkey. So that's super close, but it's non-Schengen. And then Morocco is also a good option. Super easy, quick flights from a lot of countries in Europe. So that's another one where I stayed, as well as Albania. Some other non-Schengen European countries include Serbia, Montenegro, North Macedonia, Georgia, and Bosnia and Herzegovina, whatever that
Right.
one is.
That sounded right. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
You're right. I don't think anyone I know knows these countries other than the UK and Ireland.
Right, right. Like, what the hell is Montenegro?
What is Herzliya?
But yeah, I think I mentioned too, like, I kind of got screwed because we were planning on staying in Croatia for a while to help reset the calculator, and it joined EU or joined Schengen that year. So now that's a Schengen country. So no more Croatia.
Wait, but Steve, will you share your Italy hack though?
Yes. So that was my last hack that I had. So certain countries, and this is a pretty good list. I know there's some big ones on there. Like I think France is on there. Some other really nice countries that you'd want to stay in. But Italy is the one that I did. So after your 90 days of Schengen are up, you can stay in Italy for another 90 days, even though you've already used up your 90-day Schengen visa. And they won't kick you out. They won't do anything. They have a separate agreement that's been in place, I guess, since like World War times, and they've never changed it. But as long as you don't leave Italy and like try to enter another Schengen country, during that additional 90 days, then you're good. So that's what I did. So after my 90 days in the Schengen zone, I lived in Italy for another 90 days. And yeah, didn't get arrested, didn't get fined, anything like that. When we left, they didn't give a shit. So that's a nice little hack to give you basically 6 months in the Schengen zone, as long as you just stay in one country for the last additional 90 days.
Wait, Steve, so I was unaware of this though. So it's not just Italy that does this. There is also France, you said?
Yeah, France and some other countries. Hold on, let me look them up real quick.
Okay, okay. That is cool. I mean, what a great, so essentially you can stay indefinitely in Europe if you plan it properly, is kind of what you're saying. You just got to live in Italy, which isn't too bad for 90.
Well, but then that doesn't reset your Schengen calculator. So it's not like then after that you can
Oh.
go back into the Schengen. Like they still will get you if you try to So you still have to leave another 90 days after you leave Italy.
Oh, so it doesn't even reset it doesn't reset your situation. So you're just delaying the inevitable.
Yeah, pretty much. But that's all right. I mean, after being in Europe for 6 months, I think you can move on and do something else, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's probably gonna be winter time, you know. I mean, get out of there.
Okay, so the additional agreement I was talking about is called the bilateral agreement.
Love that.
Okay, so other countries that have this bilateral agreement in place include Belgium, Denmark, France, Hungary, Italy, of course, the Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, and Spain. So, like I said, some pretty well-known, interesting places that, if you're done with your Schengen 90 days, just go chill in Spain for a long time, an extra 90 days. And to be honest, if you wanted to stay longer than 90 days in Spain or Italy, I don't think they would say anything. Like, they didn't even really look at our passports when we left Italy. Like, they didn't question us. Pretty much Southern Europe, France included, like, they're very chill in their passport checking. So you could probably get away with staying there for a long time. I'm not gonna recommend that to anyone. If you get in trouble, don't get mad at me. But they're generally pretty chill at the passport control there.
Well, that's good. I definitely enjoy chill at the passport control. I mean, I need that sometimes.
So those are our Nomad hacks of the day. I hope you guys enjoyed the tips. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We'll help you out for free. We're not going to sell you a course or anything like that. Yeah, feel free to subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and check us out on social media at Nomads No Worries, Instagram, TikTok. We're also on YouTube. Yeah, just keep hanging out with us. We love our fans and our listeners, whoever's out there.
And just real quick, like if you do want us to sell you a course, we will.
We will, yeah. If you really want a course and you want to pay us money, we're not going to refuse your money. So
Yeah, like
yeah, just
99 bucks a month or something. Like,
yeah, we could get you on like a plan, like a growth plan, like a 6 month kind of thing, like and kind of see how you improve. Yeah,
powered
and then
by AI.
the price also increases each month, which is sort of how it works.
Private retreats for members that buy the lifetime membership.
Yep, and tickets to meet us in person is part of the course as well, but you got to pay a lot for that.
And free book when it comes out.
Yeah, we're working on that.
Yeah. So a lot of benefits to the course.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we do got to get a course going, like
Yeah,
for
for real,
real.
man. I mean, I just learned a
Sounds
lot from you
awesome.
today. So like I feel like I kind of got a free course.
True. Yeah, we got to figure out a way to make money off this.
Yeah. So stay tuned.
All right. Stay tuned. That's all. That's all, folks. Have a good day.
Yeah. Take it easy. Take a weird trip. Thank you.